A massive offseason investment for our defense is dealing with a super frustrating setback right now. We threw serious cash at a hyped pass rusher to wreck rival quarterbacks all year. Instead of dominating on the grass, this dude is stuck rehabbing a nagging John from the weight room. A top defensive coach just dropped a brutally honest health update. The Philadelphia Eagles are holding their collective breath as we learn that pass rusher Jonathan Greenard will remain sidelined for at least 2 more weeks. Defensive coordinator Vic Fangio delivered the update bluntly, confirming that we simply will not see him on the practice field for another couple weeks at least. This news regarding his ongoing recovery from a pectoral strain sustained while weightlifting before camp feels like a real gut punch for our defensive front. We brought the 29-year-old in from Minnesota this April by trading 2 third-round picks and securing his commitment with a 4-year, $100 million extension, including $50 million guaranteed. That is a massive investment in a player expected to lead our charge alongside names like Jalix Hunt and Nolan Smith Jr. After he recorded 12.5 sacks during the 2024 season before his shoulder surgery in 2025, we were counting on that production to anchor our pass rush. Here's the thing nobody wants to say, but the team initially labeled this a non-serious issue. Yet, Fangio has expressed genuine doubt about him returning before the season officially starts. As fans, it is hard not to feel frustrated watching a key acquisition get stuck on the physically unable to perform list while we try to prepare for a deep title run. Does this injury history lingering from his time with the Vikings indicate a recurring problem for our defense? Or is this just an incredibly unfortunate sequence of events that will clear up once the games actually count? We need to look closer at the specific contingency plans being put in place behind the scenes, because the pressure on our depth chart is mounting rapidly. If you want to stay updated on how our coaching staff manages these rotations, hit that subscribe button to join our community today. The ripple effect from this weightlifting mishap is much larger than just losing a player for a couple weeks in the preseason. We are talking about a guy who secured a massive 4-year deal with $50 million guaranteed, specifically brought in to reshape our pass rush performance. After he managed only 3 sacks across 12 games last season, the front office clearly bet big on his ability to return to that 2024 form when he racked up 12.5 sacks with Minnesota. Does this start to change your perspective on how we handle physical training during the camp cycle? The part fans are not ready for is how this might force our defensive staff to shuffle the rotation prematurely, putting more weight on names like Arnold Ebiketie and AJ Epinesa far sooner than anyone in the front office originally intended. Those guys have potential, but replacing someone with his specific track record of high-level production is a tall order for any squad with championship aspirations. Think about it. We were supposed to see him anchoring the line, and now the uncertainty of his pectoral strain clouds the entire preparation window. While he deals with this recovery, do you trust the current depth to hold up against high-powered offenses during these early weeks? Seeing such a high-priced acquisition sidelined while we watch him work through lingering issues feels like a tough reality for everyone invested in this team's success. Management is almost certainly evaluating how much rest is enough to avoid further damage, given the high stakes of this season. It is a balancing act between protecting a major financial commitment and needing his physical presence on the field immediately. We have to hope this is just a minor bump in the road rather than a sign of bigger concerns moving forward. So that is the official news update, and now let us look at what this actually means for our defensive outlook. The immediate concern revolves around how this 2-week absence affects our defensive chemistry right when training camp needs to hit top gear. With our heavy financial investment into this specific pass-rushing unit, seeing a key piece restricted by a pec strain creates an unexpected void that forces the coaching staff to scramble. What nobody is talking about is how this recovery timeline might impact our early season defensive rotations against conference opponents who are banking on us having a fully healthy front. When you consider the specific roles held by Jalix Hunt and Nolan Smith Jr., their responsibilities essentially doubled overnight. Is it realistic to expect this younger group to maintain the high pressure we envisioned without their veteran anchor? Honestly, my first reaction was that this shift in personnel could force us to play a much more conservative defensive scheme during those initial September matchups than we initially planned. If those guys cannot generate consistent disruption, does our secondary have the depth to compensate for a lack of pressure? Looking at the bigger picture, these types of setbacks often dictate whether a team starts hot or finds itself playing from behind before October arrives. Our playoff standing requires every high-paid starter to be active, yet we are left wondering if this pec injury is a sign that he will need constant monitoring throughout the year. We are essentially gambling on his health while holding on to the hope that this is merely a temporary speed bump for our defense. Can we afford to have a $100 million asset missing from our opening strategy while trying to secure an early lead in the division? This is not just a roster update, but a major test for our depth. Securing an asset like Jonathan Greenard for 4 years and $100 million suggests our front office is fully committed to elevating our pass rushing dominance this season. The upside of this acquisition is undeniable as he brings a high-level track record from his stint with the Minnesota Vikings, where he recorded 12.5 sacks in 2024 before enduring his later surgery. Having a proven disruptor available for those key matchups provides a massive advantage for any championship-caliber squad. However, the downside remains this lingering pectoral strain, which keeps him on the shelf during these formative weeks of camp. Can we realistically expect him to hit his peak efficiency immediately after such a recovery process? Analysts across the league are naturally watching how we distribute his snaps, specifically pointing toward Jalix Hunt and Nolan Smith Jr. to fill the void, while AJ Epinesa and Arnold Ebiketie are also stepping into more significant rotation roles. The bottom line here is that his physical presence is not just a luxury, but a necessity for our defensive scheme to operate at its highest potential. While some experts suggest that playing it safe now is the smartest long-term play, I find the delay concerning because it leaves our young pass rushers under immense pressure right out of the gate. Here's where I land on this. I am skeptical that relying on internal depth alone will replicate the impact of a seasoned veteran during the early weeks of the season. While the team initially downplayed this injury, the blunt assessment from Vic Fangio that he will remain sidelined for at least 2 more weeks makes the situation feel far more precarious than we were led to believe. Balancing this major financial commitment with his health is a difficult challenge, and I worry we are sacrificing too much time on the practice field. When you put the news of this pectoral injury alongside the long-term roster vision for our franchise, the actual challenge ahead becomes quite clear. We are looking at a scenario where a high-priced defender, brought in with a massive $50 million guarantee to anchor our pass rush, remains unavailable as the season approaches. Here's what people are missing. This is not just about missing 2 weeks of practice, but about how we maintain our defensive identity while integrating younger talent like Jalix Hunt and Nolan Smith Jr. into primary roles much earlier than our leadership planned. You should feel a sense of cautious concern because even if the team originally downplayed the severity, we are dealing with a critical player who needs to be at full strength to justify the $100 million investment our organization made this past April. It forces us to lean on a rotation including Arnold Ebiketie and AJ Epinesa, who now carry the burden of replicating that 2024 production when Jonathan Greenard recorded 12.5 sacks. We have to be realistic about the adjustment period needed after his previous shoulder surgery and the current physical limitations he faces. Are we going to see this group struggle to find its footing during the opening games without their veteran leader on the field? I personally think we are at a crossroads where patience from us as fans is required. Yet our expectations for this Super Bowl contending roster